something that's pretty sensitive, and how these two interactions between polarization and cases of abuse, how do they affect each other, and why is nuance needed, even if it's an emotionally very emotionally charged case. We're also going to cover on how polarization affects many factors too, such as Asian parenting, cultural stereotypes, and there was another one I'm going to talk about, but I do not remember. But in these two problems right here, I'm going to highlight how does polarization lead to echo chambers but no solutions. So obviously, chat, when you go onto YouTube or Twitter, any place for that matter, let's say there was a person that was accused of abuse, and let's say that they were eventually convicted for that matter. Eventually, everything was given to them on this or that. And what's really interesting about this is that I'm not talking about the case itself, but I'm talking about the polarized reactions. So obviously in the case of abuse, it's going to be very strong. There are going to be very strong reactions coming from people who've been abused themselves too, and people who have seen rehabilitation in abuse too, and people who also have seen abuse themselves. And that's a really big thing here, is that polarization surprisingly never ever leads to solutions. All right, no matter how strong it is, no matter how reactionary it may be, polarization and echo chambers never ever lead to solutions. And I know y'all might ask there, especially for teenagers watching this right now, why? Why is something like this won't ever lead to solutions? And that's a really big problem here. Is that when it comes into cases that are really complex, especially when we're also talking about another system of problems here, we're also talking about the cultural Asian stereotype, where it comes to always wanting better grades, always wanting to be perfect, always wanting to be perfect, or this or that. We're also going to cover on that too, and how polarization when it comes to those issues has also completely disrupted any way for solutions. So obviously, when we have reactionary reactions here, that's like super obvious. When we have reactions that are very much strong, very strong, based off of one's own experience, based off of one's own perceptions of it, the problem is when we have strong reactions, we remove the chance of nuance. And you guys are definitely gonna ask me, what is nuance? Well, nuance is showing a situation in two lights instead of reacting in this light or that light. Instead, we look at it critically and think critically at both sides. Think of like nuance. In this case of abuse, there's two people here. There's one person that absolutely wants the person who's convicted of abuse to serve a lifelong prison term in jail forever. All right, someone who's been abused themselves. I absolutely understand that. We also look at the other side too. There's also people who have seen rehabilitation. They might see this as rough, and that they should be given a chance to rehabilitate. And the thing is, right here, I don't mean to overlook any of your experiences, guys. If you guys have seen rehabilitation or have seen abuse yourselves too, especially if you're out there right now, I want to show that I do genuinely care. In this case of neutrality right here, it's not to justify the behavior, it's to show what could the long term vision be if we do this instead of strong reactions or hateful reactions for that matter. And yes, I do love you guys too, by the way. All right, when it comes to people who have also been suffering from abuse, I do love you too, guys. And for the ones who've seen rehabilitation too, I do absolutely love you guys. I don't mean to hate on any of you. I don't mean to devalidify any of your experiences. I don't mean to do any of that. Rather, we have to look at the situation in a more critical light for that matter. We have to look at both sides. And how I'm going to do this is that because polarization never leads to solutions, because in echo chamber comment sections, like let's say this case of abuse manages to get itself into a YouTube short, obviously we're going to see very strong reactions from people who have seen rehabilitation and people who have seen abuse themselves. And that's the problem with this, is that if each side keeps on lacking out, not lacking, screaming out each other that they're right, you're wrong, or that you're wrong, they're right, if each side keeps on screaming through reactionary purposes, making very strong and hateful reactions instead of looking to look for nuance here. And that's a really big problem that comes with, because it leads to no solutions. Everyone's viewpoints are reinforced, and people we won't ever find solutions. And that's what abusers thrive on. Abusers thrive on the perceptions of reality itself too, because when the perception of reality is also mixed with polarization, the less of a chance we're going to get to solutions, because we're not getting nuanced findings from the other side too. when it comes to two issues, we have to have both sides work with each other. You see, what abusers hate most is not people. If we as a people can learn to stop fighting each other, recognize the humanity in each other, if we as people can recognize that we have our own experiences, each side has its own valid experience too. If we both can recognize that, then we're one step closer to finding solutions. In a place of polarization, we don't have that. That's the problem, is people keep on attacking each other. Even if you have a slightly different point, people will keep on attacking each other. That's the problem. Everyone's humans. Behind that computer screen, there's a human with their emotions too. Behind that computer screen, there's a teen girl, there's a teen boy that has seen abuse themselves. Behind that computer screen, there is a young adult woman out there that has seen rehabilitation in people. That's a really big thing here. Even though it is an uncomfortable truth that I'm showing right now, we need to break the stigma behind something like this. Because abusers thrive where stigma exists, because people will feel misunderstood for their own viewpoints, people will be hated. Instead of showing reactionary reactions to the other side, we should show love over hate. We should show nuanced views over polarized strong reactions. We should show an ability to find solutions to the other side instead of sticking to your own polarized viewpoint. We should open up our mind to the other side and realize that if we learn to work with the other side and find solutions, then that's just one clay. We're just one step closer to saving many lives, even though it may still take a very long time. Obviously, we have lawmakers to change laws, we have people, we have the government too. That this starts I wholeheartedly know that this starts with proper public discourse. If both sides can stop making their own reactions to each other and creating echo chambers where people know, where in one case there's an echo chamber where people's stances on abuse are validified without any nuance from the other side, then there's gonna be no solutions. Rather, we need to have both sides in an argument. We have to be willing to work with the other side. I think this is also similar to my mom too, because she definitely tends to be a little bit pro-inflammatory at times. I know when it comes to politics, it's really sensitive. When it comes to general issues, she's just kind of a pessimistic person. And when it comes to it, my mom tends to be kind of like that. Oh no, like I'm right, they're wrong, or like I'm always right, they're wrong. But that's wrong here. If we're unwilling to work with the other side when it comes to even societally charged issues, we're never gonna find solutions. If we're in an echo chamber where everyone's views on abuse is reinforced, then no one's gonna be able to find solutions. The more abusers thrive on an environment like this, where number one, the reality perception of reality is altered, and number two, there's no public discourse. People are too entrenched in their own viewpoints to find solutions. That's why, partially speaking, so many people are still being abused today, because there's a lack of public discourse. Abusers will still have their power. They have their power to change so many things. But if we as humanity can unite together against these people, if we can unite together instead of showing reactionary actions against each other, if we can unite over the polarization, then we can find solutions. We can be just ever so one step closer to finding and saving so many people, so many lives, thousands, even millions of lives. And all it starts, I wholeheartedly agree that this starts with proper public discourse. Neutrality and nuance is important to add here, because I know a lot of teen girls out there right now, probably a lot of teen boys and young adults too. Y'all might be dismissive of my own points and tend to hide away. I absolutely understand. All right. I love you guys too. That's really vulnerable to say. I see where you guys are coming from. I understand why you might want to retreat away from uncomfortable truths. But when it comes to it, if we want to find solutions, we have to confront these truths head on. We have to confront the uncomfortable truths. We have to work with the other side. We have to work with the other side that has seen rehabilitation. I mean, the other case, we have to work with the other side that has seen abuse themselves. Because if we work on one extreme, we will never ever find solutions. But if we as humanity can unite together, if we can unite, even with this open mindset, if we can just ever be slightly better than the very same people that divide us, even the critics too, the critics, the trolls, and everyone else that makes everything pro-inflammatory. Even y'all cancel culture too. I'm inviting you guys in the door too. When it comes to polarized issue like this, we need to work together. We need to work together over strong reactions. We need to work together. Each side needs to work together in order to find solutions, because that's ultimately what abusers hate. That they don't like that. All right. And I'm not here to defend abusers either too, because my neutrality can definitely be misconstrued for that. I am not here to defend I am not here to do that. I am here to show that nuance, even though it might seem uncomfortable, we're helping the very same people that are being abused. By instead of showing to our own viewpoints, if we work together, we're making a society that's just ever so slightly better. If we have this own mindset, that open mindset, open to other viewpoints instead of polarization, we can just be ever so closer to a society where nuance, but most importantly, abusers begin to eventually lose their power. Because where there's unity, chat, there's strength. Cancel culture in itself is already a strength too. I don't believe that cancel culture is this like one phenomenon that destroys you overnight. These are people that unite. Cancel culture, people of polarized views, they are people that are uniting against others for perceived wrongdoings. And if we all, as the internet, if we all can work together, even with cancel culture too, even with the trolls, even with the critics, if we can work with them, we can just be ever so closer to a society where abusers will eventually lose their power. We can ever be so closer. Right? It only takes one step. Number one, open up your mindset, but most importantly, number two, be willing to engage in constructive manners. Instead of validifying your own viewpoints, be willing to engage with the other side. Because with that, with unity, we can actually help destroy, eradicate abuse for that matter. We can save thousands and thousands of lives. The very people that are being abused right now by any one of their family members, we can save them right. We can't save them right now, but we can start to being able to save them. We can start right now by uniting as people. Instead of staying in our own viewpoints, we can unite. Instead of staying in our own viewpoints and having our own biases, we can unite as people. Cancel culture, trolls, critics, because we're all against one thing. We all want what's better. We're all humans too. The teen girls who are abused, the teen boys who are abused, the people, young adults, the people that have seen rehabilitation in abusers themselves. We are people. We have our own emotions. We want what's better. That's ultimately what both sides want to this issue. Is that we want what's better, and if we can work together instead of separating ourselves, we can just be ever so closer. We can work to save tens, even thousands, millions of lives, even if there's nowhere to begin with, because all the place it begins is number one, your brain. If you have this open mindset, we're just so closer, ever so closer. All right. Of course, I know, as I said before, it will take, might even take months, years, for lawmakers or the government to do a change, but what it starts with is public discourse. Proper public discourse for that matter. All right. And I know I'm not here to devalidify any of your experiences coming from both sides too. I don't mean to do that. I'm here to unite all of us together in order to fix this issue of abuse. Each case will obviously be different, but if we as humanity can be united in it, both offline and offline, then we can work to a society that's better. And now we're also going to move down to the topic of versus traditionalism in Asian parents, obviously. Now we're gonna move. I'm going to challenge this thing when it comes to grades. I think when it comes to grades, it's had definitely been misconstructed once again, because ultimately, don't always mean good, high-paying jobs. Obviously, I'm gonna cover this in the next, in probably the next video here. But when it comes to challenging the Asian mindset, Asian parental mindset of traditionalism versus autonomy, when it comes to it, it's a balance. But the problem is, many Asian parents out there, culturally speaking, are resistant to this type of change. All right. I know the children too, the teens too, are also resistant to this type of change. But then again, Asian parents out there, any parents out there for that matter, any parents out there, you guys have to be willing to listen. You have to be willing to listen to your own children. And children too, you guys have to be willing to listen to your own parents too. Instead of just hiding away yourself in your own place, you need to work with your parents. And parents too, you guys need to work with your children. For the ones that are willing to be open right now, you guys need to be willing to work to find a balance between autonomy and traditionalism. Because number one, in one issue, forcing your child to always have better grades and forcing your child to always limit their set phone time for this or that. Number one, when it comes to grades, we have to think critically, because grades aren't everything about life. Obviously, if your child wants to, if anyone wants to become like a doctor, their grades will obviously matter. But that's not entirely what life is, all right? High school should not be dictated by grades, because ultimately, when those same children become adults, they're going to experience a far more nuanced reality instead of having to get a perfect score, perfect this or that. And when it comes to parents too, you guys also have to understand reality is far more nuanced than it really is. Instead of forcing Actually, for the Asian parents, instead of forcing your child to always be better, always get better grades, work with them. All right, work for nuance, work for the balance of giving your child time, but most importantly, keeping your own authority, and most importantly, also keeping what they love too. What they want to do is what they want to pursue. That is none of your choice, because number one, the American dream, obviously today we've been promised that by the last generation, but it was never ever given to us. We need to be willing as parents to also give up some of that power, instead of making your child, especially if they're traditional Asian parents, you guys might want your children to go to college, be a lawyer, be a doctor. Drop all of that. Instead, ask, what does the child want to do in life? What do we want to do? Instead of making them choose this path. Because ultimately, a life of a balance between a traditionalism and autonomy will serve their child very well in the future. Because those same children will one day become parents. I will one day become a father. I will one day become a father to what, daughters or sons. And the key thing when it comes to parenting is teach your child nuance, and most importantly, teach your child the balance between autonomy and traditionalism. Where there's tension, be willing to work. Both of you guys be willing to work together to find solutions. Because if we have this open mind, we can help fix this generational gap. Because I know Gen Z, we love autonomy. Most importantly, the last generation also loves authorization, for that matter, authority over your child's life. That needs to be balanced together. We can have, most importantly, we can have so many things as a result of it. Life is a balance. It's not just binary, you choose this or that. It has to be a balance of many things. And we need to teach children that, instead of good grades or this or that. So we need to teach them so many more things, all right? I don't know what those things are, but it's gonna be important one day for them. Alright, instead of creating this tension, we need to work together in order to finish this generational gap, in order to seal that generational gap between autonomy versus traditionalism in parenting too. We need to work together instead of just staying alone. Even for the ones that are going through much right now, we need to work together. And if y'all parents are not willing to do that, the children aren't willing to do that, then we'll never find solutions. We cannot be afraid to speak up. We need to have the strength to speak up. We are people. We have our own emotions too. We are humans. We will one day become our own respective adults. We need to stand up for what's nuanced, but most importantly, stand up for what's right. Stand up for what life really, really is, instead of painting it as just good grades, or most importantly, uh, you have to take this path or that path. You guys have to wake up. It is your choice. We have the choice to do so many things. We are humans too, and we have our own emotions.